Hi, I wanted to show you how to properly format your polyatomic ions when you enter them into McGraw-Hill's Connect online homework. A few of you have had some troubles entering these to receive full credit, so you probably have your format slightly incorrect, maybe a space between some of the subscripts or superscripts. So let's practice with problem 16 on your homework assignment. This is Chapter 3, Part 1. Each person's version of this may be slightly different, but here's how I would enter my polyatomic ions. I'm looking at the carbonate ion, the ammonium ion, the arsenate ion, and the permanganate ion. Okay, we have spent a bit of time looking at carbonate and the ammonium ion, but the arsenate ion we only looked at briefly, and I haven't talked about permanganate in lecture. Let's try entering the formulas for these. So the first thing I would do in order to avoid having any spacing issues, I'm going to type in the whole formula without any superscripts or subscripts and add them after the fact. So I'm going to show you how to do that. For the carbonate ion, you should remember that it has carbon as the primary element. The ATE ending indicates that it's an oxoanion, so I'm going to have oxygen here. I will have 3 oxygens in the carbonate ion, and it has a charge of a -2 here. Now remember, as we show the ions charges, we would show the number then that it's a negative charge. Now what I will do at this point is edit my formula for the subscripts and superscripts. So I'm going to show the 3 as a subscript, and then I will click on the 2 negative for charge so that as a superscript. Now this should give me the correct format for what I need to enter to receive credit for this problem, assuming I have the right formula and the right charge. Now I'd like you to note that on Blackboard I'm not having you enter the superscripts and subscripts on any of the quizzes that we have on Blackboard, so just be aware that you won't have to enter those. Just write the formula like I did here before I adjusted for superscripts and subscripts. So for the ammonium ion, you recall it has 1 nitrogen, 4 hydrogens, and a +1 charge. We can just put a positive here. You don't have to indicate the 1. If it's anything greater than 1, I would have to indicate that with a 2 or a 3 or so on. This is one of my polyatomic cations I've asked you to know. So let's put the subscript on here. I'm going to select the 4, show that as a subscript. I'm going to select the charge, so that as a superscript. Okay, and then for my arsenate ion, you'll notice that arsenic is right below phosphorus, so it's in the nitrogen group. So that's group 15. So I have nitrogen, phosphorus, and then arsenic. So the arsenate ion, the ATE ending, reminds me again that it's an oxoanion. It actually has the same formula as phosphate. So if you recall, phosphate has the original element. Here it's arsenic. And then it had 4 oxygens, so just like phosphate would have, and then it has a charge of a -3. It makes sense because it's in the same family, the same group, that same column as phosphorus. And since it's not at the top, we don't have any exceptions for the central atom being small, so it's the same as phosphorus here. So I'm going to select my 4 to be a subscript. I'm going to select the charge for the arsenate ion as a superscript. Okay, after I've typed it all in. Now for the permanganate ion, this is one that you're going to have to memorize, this special ion, but there's manganese, one of our transition metals, as part of this oxoanion. So this kind of breaks the rule with most of our anions, right? Most of our anions have just nonmetals, but here's actually a case where we have an oxoanion with a transition metal as part of the formula. So this one's a little tricky. It's a special one that you will have to learn. So it's MnO4 with a -1 charge. I just put a negative when there's a -1. Now I want to make sure that I indicate as a subscript that there's 4 oxygens, and that's not part of the charge, so I'm going to click that as a subscript, and I'm going to go ahead and select the charge, just a negative here if it's a -1, and I'm going to show that as a superscript. Okay. Now at this point, a few of you have been missing problems on Connect because you forget to look at the scroll bar to the right, and some of the problems you have to scroll down to see all of the questions you have to answer. So a couple of you have missed your submissions because of that, so be careful. Now if we want to check our work, we should be able to see if we did it correctly. It accepted all of our superscripts and subscripts as the correct format. If you did have an error, so let's put an error in here on purpose. Let's say we forgot to write our charge on the permanganate ion, and I tried to check my work. It's going to tell me that I need to try again here. If I scroll down, you'll notice it says view the details of the last checked answer. So this is going to tell me which one of my submissions were correct and which one was incorrect. So you notice here we even have an indication we're missing charge. So that might help you in case you're forgetting to scroll down to see that you could check your answers. So I'm hoping this short recording will aid you in getting better scores on your McGraw-Hill Connect Learn Smart. Should you miss points due to formatting errors, but you're certain you had the correct formula and the correct way of showing your charge with a number followed by the sign for the charge, please keep track of that at the end when we finish a chapter. Let me know about those points, and I'm willing to work with you, especially if you've documented in your homework notebook the correct answers that you had when you initially entered them. Thank you. I hope you found this helpful.